I recognized him before I could stop myself, not by his face, not by his clothes, but by the way he walked, slow, bent forward, dragging his feet as if every step carried a burden too heavy for one body. It was a walk I had watched for years when we were young, after long workdays, after disappointments, after silent arguments he never knew how to finish. I was leaving the bank that afternoon, a folder pressed tightly under my arm, my mind busy with numbers and deadlines, when something pulled my attention to the other side of the street. Near a broken dumpster, a man was sorting through garbage. His hands moved carefully, separating cans from scraps, placing them into an old, torn sack. At first, I felt nothing, just pity, just another invisible soul in a city that had learned not to look down. Then he shifted his weight. My chest tightened. That movement, that slight pause before stepping forward, that tired hesitation. My heart began to race. "No," I whispered. "It's not possible." But my body stopped walking anyway. The man straightened slightly, and sunlight touched the side of his face. I saw the beard, long, uneven, streaked with white. I saw the sharp line of his nose, thinner now. And suddenly, 15 years collapsed into one unbearable second. It was him, Daniel, my husband, my ex-husband, the man who disappeared without explanation and shattered my life. The world around me shrank. Cars passed. People talked. Someone laughed behind me, but none of it felt real anymore. There was only that corner of the street, only that broken figure bending over trash. This was not the man I married. This was not the confident engineer who wore clean shirts and spoke with certainty about the future. This was not the man who once promised me safety, stability, and a home filled with peace. This was a man life had erased. I should have crossed the street. I should have turned away. I should have protected myself from the past. For years, I had rebuilt my life piece by piece. Slowly, painfully, I had learned to live with unanswered questions, with shame, with the silent judgment of people who assumed I had been abandoned because I wasn't enough. Seeing him like this threatened everything I had buried. But my feet betrayed me. I took one step forward, then another. My heels clicked against the pavement. The sound reached him. He lifted his head. Our eyes met. For a brief moment, he didn't recognize me. His gaze passed over my coat, my shoes, my face shaped by time. Then something sparked in his eyes, memory. Fear followed instantly. His hands began to tremble. The sack of cans slipped from his fingers and fell to the ground with a dull metallic sound. He stepped back as if I were a ghost. "No," he muttered. "You shouldn't be here." My throat closed. The words I had imagined saying for years vanished. "Daniel," I finally said. My voice sounded foreign, weak. "Is it really you?" He looked away immediately, his shoulders collapsing inward. "You shouldn't see me like this," he said quietly. "Please, just go." Go. After 15 years of silence? Anger surged through me, sharp and sudden, cutting through shock. "You left me," I said, without a word, without an explanation. "And now you're asking me to walk away?" He flinched. "I didn't leave because I wanted to," he whispered. I laughed bitterly. "Then why did you disappear? Why did you destroy everything we built?" He didn't answer. Instead, his knees buckled. Before I could react, his body collapsed forward. He hit the ground hard, the sound echoing through my chest. People shouted. Someone cursed. Another person called for help. I dropped my bag and ran to him. "Daniel," I screamed, kneeling beside him. His skin was burning, his breathing shallow. His eyes fluttered, unfocused. An ambulance arrived quickly. Strangers helped lift him onto a stretcher. I climbed in without thinking. At the hospital, the words came fast and heavy. Severe dehydration, advanced malnutrition, anemia. "Has he been homeless long?" a nurse asked me. I couldn't answer. I sat beside his bed for hours, watching his chest rise and fall, barely. The machines beeped softly, marking time that felt stolen. When he finally woke up, his eyes searched the room. When they found me, panic filled them. "You shouldn't be here," he said weakly. "You need to leave." I leaned closer. Not this time. Tears pooled in his eyes, but he turned his face away. "I ruined your life," he whispered. "You don't owe me anything." That sentence cracked something inside me. "Then tell me the truth," I demanded softly. "Just once." He stayed silent for a long time. His breathing grew uneven. Finally, he spoke. "I left to save you." My heart pounded violently. "Save me from what?" He closed his eyes. A tear slipped down the side of his face and disappeared into his beard. "From people who don't forgive," he said. "From men who erase problems, not solve them." The room felt smaller. Slowly, painfully, the story began. Daniel had been working on a large public project. Millions involved, trusted names, clean reputations, until he noticed irregularities, false invoices, companies that existed only on paper. "When I tried to report it," he said, "they came to me." My hands trembled. "Who?" "People with power," he replied. "Enough power to make accidents look natural." My stomach tightened. "They showed me pictures of you," he continued. "Your routine. Your workplace. Places you walked alone." I felt cold all over. "They told me if I spoke, if I refused, you wouldn't survive it." I covered my mouth with my hand, unable to breathe. "So you ran?" I whispered. "No," he said. "I erased myself." He accepted blame for crimes he didn't commit, signed documents, let accounts drain, let our house be taken, let the world believe he was guilty and weak. "So they would never look at you again," he said. I cried silently. For 15 years, I had hated him. For 15 years, that hatred had kept me alive. And now I understood it had been designed. "You had to hate me," he said softly. "It was the only way." The truth crushed me. That night, sitting beside his bed, I realized something terrifying. This reunion was not an accident. And the story that began with trash and silence was far from over. Daniel slept most of that night, his body exhausted from years of hunger and fear. I remained in the chair beside his bed, afraid that if I closed my eyes, everything would disappear again. The beeping of the monitor became a strange comfort. Proof that he was still alive. But my mind refused to rest. His words echoed again and again. "I erased myself to save you." Every memory of the past 15 years began rearranging itself in my head. The unexplained debts, the sudden loss of our home, the cold letter that ended our marriage without a single reason. I had believed it was betrayal, weakness, cowardice. Now I saw it for what it really was. A sacrifice designed to look like abandonment. Near dawn, a nurse entered quietly and checked his vitals. She hesitated before leaving and looked at me with concern. "You should be careful," she said softly. "Some people asked about him tonight. They didn't look like family." My stomach tightened. That same fear returned. When Daniel woke again, he noticed my expression immediately. "They're already watching, aren't they?" he asked. I nodded. He sighed deeply. "I was hoping we'd have more time." "Time for what?" I asked. "For you to walk away," he said honestly. "Before you got pulled back into this." I shook my head. "That choice disappeared the moment I saw you." He looked at me with pain and relief, mixed together. "There's something you need to know," he said. "Something I never told anyone." I leaned closer. "Before I disappeared," he continued, "I hid evidence." My heart skipped. "Evidence of everything," he said. "Real contracts, original documents, audio recordings, names." "Why didn't you use them?" I asked. "Because the moment I did," he replied, "you would have died." The words were calm, but they crushed me. "They warned me clearly," he continued. "If the truth came out, the woman I loved would vanish quietly." I swallowed hard. "Where is this evidence?" He hesitated. "In a metal box," he said finally. "Buried under the old workshop where I used to supervise projects. No one knows about it." The room felt heavy. "That box," he added, "is the reason I stayed invisible. The reason I lived like a ghost." I stood up slowly. "I'm going to get it," I said. "No," he said sharply, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. "You don't understand. That box is a death sentence." "So is silence," I replied. "It already destroyed both of us." He looked at me, torn between fear and trust. "You already gave up your life for me once," I said. "It's my turn now." He closed his eyes. "Behind a false wall," he whispered. "Left side, you'll feel a hollow space." That afternoon, I left the hospital with my heart pounding like a drum. Every step outside felt exposed. Every stranger looked suspicious. The workshop was abandoned now, dust and rust everywhere. I entered quietly, my breath shallow. I found the shelf. I felt the wall. And then, an empty space. I dug. My fingers touched cold metal. The box was real. Inside were folders, flash drives, stamped documents. Proof so heavy it felt alive. As I left, a black car idled nearby. I didn't run. I walked into a crowded store and waited. The car left. The game had begun. When I returned to the hospital and placed the box beneath Daniel's bed, he stared at it in silence. "They won't stop now," he said. "Neither will we," I replied. That night, unknown men appeared again in the hallways. Doctors warned us. Security increased. And then, news broke. An investigation had opened. Names began to fall. Phones rang endlessly. Threats followed. A note appeared in my apartment the next day. "You were safer when you hated him." Daniel collapsed from stress that night. As doctors rushed him into surgery, I realized something painful and powerful. Truth doesn't just free you. It demands payment. And the final cost had not yet been paid. Daniel survived the surgery, but he was weaker than ever. His body had endured too much. Still, his mind was clear. "They're afraid now," he said quietly. "That's when they're most dangerous." Investigators arrived again, real ones this time. They spoke with Daniel for hours. He answered every question without hesitation. "I stayed silent long enough," he said. "I won't die a liar." News exploded. Executives were arrested. Officials resigned. Accounts were frozen. But power fought back. My phone was tapped. I was followed. My workplace received anonymous complaints. One night, someone tried to break into my apartment. I didn't sleep after that. Daniel testified in court weeks later. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just truth. Calm, steady, unbreakable. The courtroom was silent. For the first time, his story was heard without distortion. Months passed. The verdicts came quietly. Long sentences, public disgrace. Empires collapsed without ceremony. Daniel watched the news from a hospital bed, learning to walk again. "I thought sacrifice meant disappearing," he said one afternoon as sunlight filled the room. "And now?" I asked. "Now I know it means surviving long enough to be understood." We left the hospital together months later, slowly, carefully. He walked with a cane, the same walk. But this time, it carried dignity, not shame. We sat on a park bench as autumn leaves fell. "Do you regret it?" I asked. He shook his head. "I regret the pain," he said. "Not the truth." I realized then that some people are judged for the very thing that saves others. Some heroes are mistaken for cowards. And some love stories don't end in romance, but in understanding. Not everyone who leaves betrays you. Not everyone who stays tells the truth. And sometimes the person you blamed for destroying your life was the one protecting it all along.